Grimm's Fairy Tales, retold in one syllable words, by Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm. Chapter 6. Snow White and Red Rose. A poor widow once lived with her two daughters in a small, lonely house. The two girls were so fair, and looked so much like roses, that she called one of them Snow White, and the oth er one Red Rose. They were as good girls as could be found, at all times cheer ful, and full of love for one the oth er. When they went out to walk, they would go hand in hand. If one said, "We will nev er part," the oth er would say, "Nev er, so long as we live." And what one had was al ways shared with the oth er. Oft en they went to the woods to pick ber ries, but no harm came to them. The hare would eat a leaf from their hands, the deer grazed at their side, and the birds sat on boughs near them and sang to them. They met with no mis hap, and if night came on be fore they left the woods, they had no fear, but lay down on the moss and slept till dawn. Snow White and Red Rose kept the house so clean that it was a treat to look at it. In the sum mer time, Red Rose swept the floor, and placed a fresh bunch of flow ers by the side of her moth er's bed each morn ing be fore she was up. And in the win ter, Snow White made the fire, and hung the ket tle on the hook, where it shone like gold, so bright did the lit tle maid keep it scoured. In the eve ning, when the snow fell, the moth er would say, "Go and bolt the door, Snow White." And then they would all sit by the fire, and the moth er would read from a large book while the girls spun. One eve ning a knock was heard at the door, as if some one want ed to get in. "Quick, Red Rose," said the moth er, "go to the door. It may be some trav el er who looks for shel ter." Red Rose o pened the door, think ing to see a poor man, but in place of that, a big black bear poked his head in. Red Rose screamed and ran back, but the bear be gan to talk, and said, "Do not fear. I will not hurt you. I am well nigh dead with the cold, and wish to come in and warm my self by your fire." "You poor bear," said the moth er, "lie down by the fire, but take care that you do not burn your fur." The girls soon lost their fear of the bear, and came near him. Then the bear said, "Get the broom, chil dren, and brush the snow from my fur." They brought the broom, and brushed his fur till it was quite clean, and then he stretched him self out in front of the fire. At last the girls be gan to play with him, and pulled him a bout by his fur, as if he were a big dog. The bear stayed all night, and at dawn the girls let him out, and he ran off o ver the snow in to the woods. But each night, at the same hour, he came back to the house, lay down at the hearth, and let the chil dren play with him for a while. They grew so used to his vis its that the door was not locked till he came. One day in spring he said to Snow White, "I must go a way now, and I shall not come back all sum mer." "Where do you mean to go, dear bear?" she asked. "I must go to the wood, and guard my treas ure from the dwarfs. In the win ter, when the frost makes the ground hard, they must stay down in the earth. But as soon as the sun melts the frost, they work their way up, and steal all they can find. And when a thing is once in their hands, it is hard to get it back a gain." Snow White felt sad to part with the bear. As she let him out through the door, his fur caught on a hook, and a piece of skin was torn off. Snow White thought she saw some thing gleam like gold un der his skin, but was not sure, for the bear ran quickly off, and was soon lost sight of among the trees. Some time af ter this, the girls went to the wood to get some sticks for the fire. They came to a tree which lay on the path, and saw that some thing was spring ing up and down on one of the boughs, but they could not tell what it was. When they came near er, they saw a lit tle dwarf with an old face and a beard a yard long. The end of his beard had caught in a cleft in the tree, and he sprang a bout like a dog that was fast to a string, for he did not know how to free him self. He glared at the girls and cried, "Why do you stand there? Can't you come and help me?" "What have you done?" asked Red Rose. "Oh, you stu pid goose!" he cried. "I wished to split some wood for my fire. I drove in a wedge, and all was go ing well, when the wedge slipped out, and the wood closed up so quickly that my hand some white beard caught, and I can't draw it out. There, don't stand and laugh, you milk faced things. Whew! How ug ly you are!" Well, the girls tried to get his beard out, but could not. At last one of them said, "I will run and get some one to help us." "Block heads!" he snarled. "Who wants more peo ple? You two are more than I want now. Can you think of noth ing else?" "Don't be cross," said Snow White. "I can help you." And she took her shears out of her pock et, and cut off the end of his beard. As soon as the dwarf felt that he was free, he seized a sack full of gold that he had hid a mong the roots of the tree, put it up on his shoul ders, and said, "Smooth faced fools, to go and cut a piece of my beard! They'll get their pay for it." Then he went off with out a glance at the girls. One day Snow White and Red Rose went to catch a mess of fish. As they came near the brook, they saw some thing like a great lo cust hop ping on the bank, as if it were go ing to jump in the stream. They ran to it, and saw it was the same dwarf. "Why do you do that?" asked Red Rose. "Do you wish to jump in the brook?" "I'm not such a fool as to wish to do that," he cried, "but this fish wants to pull me in." He had sat on the bank to fish, and his beard had been caught in the line, so that when a large fish bit at the bait, he did not have e nough strength to draw it out. But in place of that, the fish was pull ing him in to the wa ter. He clung to the reeds and grass, but it was of no use, for the fish pulled him where it would, and would soon have drawn him in to the wa ter. The girls came just in the right time. They held him back, and tried to get his beard loose, but they could not do so, as it and the line were so bad ly tangled. There was noth ing to be done but to cut off an oth er piece of the beard. The dwarf was in a great rage. "You toad stools!" he cried. "Now you have ru ined my beard. It was not e nough that you cut it once. Now you must take the best part of it. I dare not show my self to my own folks a gain. I wish you may have to run till your shoe soles come off for this." Then he drew a bag of pearls from the reeds, and slipped a way with out say ing an oth er word. Not long af ter this, the moth er sent the girls to the town to buy some pins, thread, and lace. Their road passed through a field on which, here and there, lay large stones and rocks. Up in the air they saw a great bird that flew round and round. It sailed low er and low er, and at last sank down by one of the stones. Just then the girls heard a scream, and run ning up to the bird, they saw that their old friend the dwarf had been seized by the bird, and was a bout to be car ried off. The kind girls laid hold on the dwarf, and held him fast till the bird gave up the contest and flew off. As soon as the dwarf got o ver his fright, he cried in his sharp voice, "Could you not have held me more gent ly? You have tugged at my fine brown coat till it is all in rags on my back." With no thanks, he picked up his bag of gems, and slipped in to his den un der the stone. The girls were used to his way, and did not mind his a buse, but went on to town and bought what they had come for. On their way home they passed through the same field, and came up on the dwarf once more. He thought no one would pass at that late hour, and had come out of his den and spread out his gems on the ground. They gleamed and shone in the set ting sun, and the girls stopped to ad mire them. He be gan to scold and rage at them, but as he went on with his hard words and threats, a big black bear rushed at him with a growl. The dwarf sprang up in fright, but could not reach his den. The bear was too near. Then he fell on his knees to the bear and cried, "Oh, dear, good Mr. Bear, spare me. I will give you all my gems. See them here. Spare my life. Of what use would such a poor lit tle thing be to you? You would not feel me be tween your teeth. There are two bad girls. Take them. They are as fat as quails. Eat them in place of me." But the bear paid no heed to his words, struck him with one blow of his great paw, and he nev er stirred a gain. When the girls saw the bear, they start ed to run a way, but he called, "Snow White, Red Rose, have no fear. Wait, and I will go with you." They knew his voice and stopped, but when he came up to them his rough coat of fur fell off, and there stood be fore them a hand some young man, dressed in rich clothes. "I am a king's son," he said. "The dwarf be witched me, stole my treas ures, and made me run in the woods as a wild bear, till I should be set free by his death. Now he has re ceived his well de served re ward." They went home, and not long af ter Snow White was mar ried to the prince, and Red Rose to his broth er. All the treas ures which the dwarf had gath ered in his den were shared be tween them, and they lived in great joy and peace for ma ny years. CHAPTER VII. SNOW WHITE AND RED ROSE.